I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
Back up in your ass with the resurrection.
Hi everyone, welcome to another Cartoon Galaxy Rant. I'm Mars Moon, and I love to rant about cartoons. And today, I want to talk about something that has been slowly but surely taking over the internet. It seems innocent enough on the surface, but holds some major problems underneath. I'm talking about artificial intelligence, or AI for short. It's almost like this stuff snuck up on us, with little bits of its presence popping up here and there on the internet. But now we literally see it everywhere. It could replicate voices, art, pretend to be a person via chats, and is all over Google when you search for something, being the first thing to show up with information, which not always is accurate. As humans, we consider this a new feat of technology, a reflection of how far humans could go with their intellect. But little do we know, it is also subsequently diminishing the same intellect that created it at the same time. So dive with me as I'm about to share with you all how AI and even the internet itself is in fact the culprit of the de-evolution of humanity. At least it feels that way. But before we do, just a quick reminder to please like and subscribe. It makes all the difference, especially with YouTube's weird algorithms. So every little counts towards helping the channel. And as for those of you who have been supporting the channel, thank you so much. It'd be nothing without you. So to get to the root of the problem with AI, we need to look at human culture. More so the creative aspects of it that AI seems to feed into so well, trying to replicate every inch of it. Since the beginning of mankind, humans have created art on cave walls or made little figurines out of clay just to reflect the things they knew and would see in the world around them. Eventually, with human evolution, creativity evolved as well. Art turned into sculptures and paintings. Random sounds turned into musical symphonies. And as humans became less and less nomadic and formed civilizations with plenty of homes and buildings, the art of architecture became a thing with those same buildings, revealing a form of creativity through aesthetics. Jump into the future, and art started to show itself through technology. First, there was the radio, and then the television screen. Soon art took the form of film, TV shows, cartoons, which I especially love. You name it. But you thought TV was such a feat of human inventiveness? It was nothing compared to the introduction of the computer, where you could play video games. Also on game consoles, of course. And that too had its own level of creative air, going from just boxes moving on a screen to these 2D animated figures running around to suddenly 3D animated characters, and then eventually to something so real you think it's a movie and real people at times, not a game. With computers, we finally get to the internet in its youth, probably somewhere around in the 90s if I recall. I mean, the internet started out a lot when I was young. A place where people can explore and find information. That was the internet. You could also chat with people in other ways outside the use of phones. Not to say that it was always safe to do, but it was there. Sharing artwork, stories, music, and videos was also another thing you could do on the internet. And you could still do. Back then, you could make silly little fan pages for your favorite shows or actors or cartoons and so on. And fan pages were fun. They looked corny, but they were fun. Those were good times. But then the internet changed. Instead of just being accessible on computers, they became accessible on portable phones, called cell phones, which we all use now. But it was something unheard of back in the day because phones mostly were used on landlines that were connected through phone lines. Now, cell phones and the internet are connected through internet carriers and mostly Wi-Fi. Oh, and to go on about Wi-Fi, that was a big deal because you couldn't access the internet back in the day without it being connected to a phone line. So, if someone picked up a phone, you'd be instantly disconnected from the internet. Now with Wi-Fi, that's a problem of the past. Now you could be on the internet longer, and anywhere you go, you'd have it in the palm of your hand. But with this, the fan pages suddenly died. I mean, who needs them now, right? You could share all your stuff on social media, a new creation of the times. Twitter, which is now X, Reddit, YouTube, Tumblr, you name it. And that's when everything suddenly turned to Most websites are owned by big companies, social media included. With this, most creativity started to descend. Don't get me wrong, people could still share art and music and all that, but instead of posting it on their very own little creative website, which I believe was hosted for free or wasn't very expensive back in the day, why do that when you could post it on social media with the same generic appearance as everyone else's page? Because it's for free. Very few pages are owned by smaller individuals like us or small businesses because, now it's just so darn expensive. But when you could post things for free on social media, why not? Although the price is your personal information, which is sold to other users who could profit off of it. Great trade, am I right? Then let's look at the real world outside the internet. Beautiful architecture started to be replaced with these boxy piece of crap buildings with no character, no soul. Same for interior design, where everything has to be painted white. Just take away all the color, 'cause it's modern, baby. No, all that white doesn't look like you're in a hospital or an insane asylum at all. Music also has lost its soul. Lyrics aren't made by artists anymore. They're made by a plethora of names hired by big companies to crap out something catchy that will give you earworms and want you to just buy more. Modern art is even a thing, and dear God, don't let me get started on that. Snakes that call themselves artists making something so lazy and soulless just because some elites can call it art and then can make millions off of garbage. Don't get me wrong, there are the very few pieces of modern art that actually show heart, but they're very small and far in between. Most of it is just trash. Then we end the story with what I talked about earlier, artificial intelligence, or AI. The nail in the coffin. All that stuff I mentioned earlier. The lack of creativity within art becomes rather dehumanizing because after all, to be creative is to be human. But now let's just take the human completely out of it and have a computer create the art. Now you could type what you want to see and the AI creates it. And it hasn't stopped on the internet. Big stores are selling AI poster art for a lot of money. I've seen it. They're just popping up all of a sudden. Companies don't need to hire graphic artists anymore when they could just have AI do it. Voice actors are even concerned that they won't be needed because AI could just replicate their voice. And AI is looking and sounding more real as time goes by. It's really scary. Eventually, you won't be able to tell if actors in a video are just AI generated or real people. And it's just terrifying because we have now officially reached the peak of our lives where we as humans have made ourselves irrelevant. But why? Why would this be happening? Why go from creative bliss to a life so deprived of it? Hell, they're even trying to kill the creative nature of food by replacing what is natural with synthetically made mush. I'll tell you what I think, and I'm sure a lot of you probably share the same sentiment. Probably not, but this is just my thoughts on it. Creativity is a part of humanity. It's what we are, it's who we are. It makes us a little different from other living things. And it's not just our intelligence that makes us different from other living things. It is also creativity. We need to be able to express ourselves in a creative way because this is another way we could practice the use of our intellect. Not through sheer logic, but through creative means. If we can't work that part of our brains, the creative part of our brains, it only leads to a lack of connecting with ourselves, the world around us, and the people around us. Suddenly, without that, we become depressed little husks with no purpose in life. Think of it kind of like in the movie WALL-E. WALL-E, after being on an abandoned Earth covered in garbage and filth, eventually finds humans, but they became so attached to technology, kind of like we are now, that they become these fat, lazy pieces of shit that couldn't even walk from place to place and use their legs. They needed little hover chairs to move their lard asses around. I hate to say it, but that is slowly but surely becoming us, if it hasn't already. Not exactly like that, though, with the hovering chairs and all that, but who knows what time will bring. But people are definitely losing purpose and just wanting tech to do everything for them. And when people lose purpose, they become desperate for happiness, for some sign of fulfillment. When that happens, people are then easy to manipulate and control. Someone can promise you something wonderful, and out of desperation, you'll take their word for it. That's why politics are so f***ed up nowadays. Worse than usual, because it's always been pretty f***ed up. And society as a whole has gone to crap. People just hate each other more for the dumbest reasons, and there has been nothing but division. You think it's coincidence? No. It's because the people are so sad in their little tech bubbles that to feel anything, they turn to hate and are easily manipulated to do so. This is what humanity has become. And as much as we don't want to think it's technology and the internet and AI and all this stuff keeping us from being ourselves, I hate to say it, it just seems more and more like it. So how do you fix it? Well, it's actually rather easy. You put the phones down. You turn your eyes away from the internet and go outside. I mean, hell, the internet has even become this addictive thing where even people grasp for happiness just from that, with how many likes they get and how many views they get. Statistically, nature is actually supposed to be the solution to stress. When anybody goes out in nature, it actually de-stresses them. I mean, after all, we as humans are from nature, and taking ourselves away from it can, well, be stressful. That's why a lot of times if you live in cities where there's less and less nature, you see people more and more stressed out. Also, it's overly crowded, so that doesn't help either. So get away from the internet and go to a park or something. Talk to people in person, not through social media. Be creative and express yourselves in a creative way. Learn to love each other a little instead of hating, and slowly but surely gain your humanity back. And maybe one day this fear of AI taking over will just be a thing of the past, just a bad dream. Well, I hope you found my thoughts to be somewhat insightful. I know it's a little different from the things I typically talk about, but it's just something that's been on my mind a lot recently. Just from seeing AI a lot and seeing all the things going on the internet lately. Especially just recently, I did a video talking about Roblox, so, you could see where my thoughts were coming from. But as always, you could also share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think of all this craziness with the internet and AI? Share your thoughts down below. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Take care.